The 14th year of Chenghua. Chapter 111. A pretty youth descended from the heavens. Zhang Pei looked overcast. You should think things over more, Sir Tang. Don't regret it when it's already too late. Are you threatening me? Tang Fan calmly countered. Standing beside him, Qian San'er stared at the two like he was facing major enemies. Zhang Pei glared for a long time, then laughed icily, turned, and left with Wu Zong. They're way too impudent. Qian San'er raged. When have the Eastern Depot's people ever not been impudent? Tang Fan sounded collected. It's inseparable from them, no matter which emperor reigns. Their capital lies in pure impudence. They had at least maintained a display of harmony before, yet they had now completely turned face. What do we do, sir? Qian San'er asked. Tang Fan was not really bothered. This would have happened sooner or later. It isn't like we would have to eat live pigs without the incompetent butcher Zhang around, is it? That they could bear with it and only speak now is already quite honorable. The Eastern Depot was used to being domineering, which was why Zhang Pei and Wu Zong, two minor wardens, had dared to mock him. He had long been mentally prepared, however, and wasn't enraged at all about it. While they spoke, the sky had since turned completely dark. Many people got off their boats, talking and laughing while they headed for Yangzhou City, ready to experience a place that was famed all over the world. Even Emperor Yang of Sui hadn't been able to resist setting up a special trip down south to see its beautiful scenery and people. Anyone that had been to Yangzhou before would now happen to bring up Yang Hu's parable with bravado, something about skin engulfing water in the morning, water engulfing skin in the afternoon, and skin meeting skin in the evening. Hearing it would make the listeners drool, overflow and hang three zhang down, getting them all the more filled with yearning for Yangzhou. Qian San'er heard as much from the shore while on it and returned full of envy, asking Tang Fan, Sir, what is skin engulfing water, and water engulfing skin? Why does that sound so rapturous? Tang Fan smiled. It means that Yangzhou folks wake up in the morning to have tea and light refreshments, then spend the afternoon in bathhouses. Yangzhou has such livelihoods, but that sort of life is generally only for wealthy families to enjoy. Average commoners don't have enough time to work to get 3 square meals a day, so how could they have the thought to mess around? Qian San'er blinked. Sir, I heard that your hometown is in Jiangnan. Are you actually from Yangzhou? Tang Fan shook his head. No, but my hometown is close by, so I'm pretty familiar with civilian customs of the region. The other gave a look around, grinning evilly. Then, is there also skin pressing against skin at night? Tang Fan side-eyed him. This man was already well aware of the answer, harboring bad ideas. You want to get off the boat and walk around the city. Qian San'er climbed onto the pole given to him. That requires your approval. Those Eastern Depot bastards are unreliable and I can't just leave you alone. With that, he started drooling. Are you going, sir? Tang Fan shook his head. In truth, it was not just Qian San'er that wanted to. He also wanted to go stroll Yangzhou City. However, in order to prevent giving people something to gossip about, it would be best for him to not go anywhere before reaching Suzhou. Zhang Pei and Wu Zong are here to spy on me. Don't pay attention to them not doing anything. If I step into the city right now, after I return, an accusation of ignored a court task to have fun in private will be placed on my head. Qian San'er's chest filled with indignation, but he didn't dare to say anything that would cause catastrophe for Tang Fan, only showing his rage on his face. Well, I can't go into the city, but it's not the same for you. Even though it's getting late, inns and restaurants are still open and won't close down until the time of the boar, 9 to 11 p.m., unlike the north. Go take a walk and pick up a few things for me to eat while you're at it. Qian San'er's eyes shone as he asked, What do you want, sir? At one mention of this, Tang Fan had to keep down his desire to salivate, doing all he could to look nonchalant. I want a portion each of 3 diced buns, shredded tofu boiled in chicken broth, pipa prawns and jade-colored shumai. And whatever else you find interesting. Got it? Having received permission, Qian San itched to sprout wings and fly off into the city immediately. The day of Guanyan's ascension draws near. There are lantern festivals going on from day to night in the city, making things very lively, but you need to remember not to loiter about in brothels. If you do, you don't need to come back, Tang Fan reminded him. Seeing his serious expression, Qian San quickly took back some of his floatier ideas, agreed to everything, then left the ship for the bank. After he left, Tang Fan felt a bit listless, so he set down his book and walked out of his cabin to get some air on the open deck. Under the darkness of the night, the mist-like willows on either shore had lost color, no longer the bright green they had been during the day, but that accordingly sparked off bits of candle flames that swayed lightly, reflected upon the water's surface. It looked like another world made of glass, causing one to not know what night it was. Such was the enticing power of Jiangnan's watery home. There was no northern wind and sand blowing about, and it had this beautiful scenery day after day, all through the seasons. It wasn't strange that many northerners came to be unwilling to leave this place. Yangzhou City was even more phenomenal alone. Tang Fan stood on the ship, gazing into the distance, able to see the city filled with brilliant lanterns that shined like the day itself. It abruptly reminded him of his childhood, when his father had brought him and his sister to Yangzhou to have fun. So many years had passed in a wink. The landscape was the same as ever, while the faces of the people had all changed. Were it not for the 2 depot wardens watching him on this expedition, he would definitely want to visit some of the places he had gone to before, and go into the city to take a look. Help! Come quick! Someone fell into the water. A scream cut through the peaceful quiet, interrupting his slightly melancholic reminiscing. Looking up, he saw that a few boats had come together on the river at some unknown point in time. 2 amongst them were viewing ships, and there was a faint disturbance on the water's surface, as if someone actually had fallen in. However, what was weird was that someone from this side had called for help, while the boat's side had the sound of giggles coming from it, with several figures appearing at the boat's edge. Tang Fan looked closer. It seemed like the dandies were having a laugh. Some rolled up their sleeves in preparation to get into the water but dawdled, which was really weird. Sirs. Someone fell into the water. Do we rescue them? The speaker was one of the boat workers. Having seen Tang Fan, Zhang Pei, and the rest come out to see the commotion, he had hurriedly asked for instructions. What happened? Asked Tang Fan. This lowly one isn't too sure. It appears that the one that fell was a woman. Just now, those 2 viewing boat dandies spoke rudely, but were already on the boat, which resulted in a shoving match that pushed the woman into the water. Zhang Pei was displeased. Why would we rescue her? There's so many people over there, they can do it. We have imperial orders to handle our task, not be river patrolling bailiffs. Don't make such a fuss. Saving someone's life is more worthwhile than building a 7-story pagoda, Tang Fan said. If we didn't see it, it's fine, but since we've seen it, we need to go and help. However, while they were talking, someone on a small boat had since jumped vigorously into the water, swimming to the drowning person. The other was quite good at swimming and quickly nabbed her, dragging her towards the government vessel here. Seeing this, the boat workers quickly scrambled to help get them both up. There were several boats nearby that weren't too far from the woman that fell, and their distances were similar visually, but the woman's boat still had those 2 dandies standing on it, so sending her back there would be like a lamb entering the tiger's den. The other nearby ships weren't really big enough. By comparison, the government vessel was undoubtedly more impressive and reliable. When the rescued woman was hauled onto the deck, Tang Fan's group then discovered that she was a beauty worthy of a nation. By means of the illumination from an exuberant amount of lanterns, the maiden was seen lying on her back on the floor, eyes shut in unconsciousness. Her thin spring garments couldn't conceal her exquisite figure, and her bound braids had loosened in the water, her long, drenched hair sticking to her cheeks, making her complexion all the more snow-white. Brows like the umbral black of distant mountains, lips like the bright red of cherries. In that instant, such a phrase floated up into Tang Fan's mind. If even he couldn't resist having the shock of seeing a beauty flit past his face, no one else could, either. The group was staring at the woman, not knowing what to do. Men and women were supposed to keep distance from each other. If she was a woman from a decent family, saving her was the absolute limit. If something happened in the process of saving her, then even if she woke up, her reputation would likely be gone. Judging particularly from what had happened before, if she had jumped into the river to clear her own innocence, she was likely fierce in personality. Zhang Pei and Wu Zong were eager to try their luck, but with Tang Fan nearby, they dared not be rash, else it would be very easy for him to get a handle on them. Tang Fan's attention remained on the woman for only a moment, immediately after which it landed upon the one that had rescued her. The other looked to be in his early 20s. His features were sleek and handsome in the light of the lantern, and his white clothes were soaked through, pressing tightly against his body. Even so, he didn't cut a sorry figure, instead manifesting a stylish heroism. Right as Tang Fan thought to speak, he saw the young man turn around and jump back into the water, swimming towards the boat the woman had been in. Everyone was confused by his abrupt action, watching him quickly swim to the boat's edge. The instant his arms were gripping its railing, his figure swiftly leapt up, then landed stably upon the deck, beautiful and efficient to the extreme. Following this, the youth punched the two dandies on board and threw them into the water, then had the boat worker drive the ship close to Tang Fan's vessel. The two maidservants of the girl that fell were brought over, and he told them to press against her chest to get her air. After a good bit of struggle, her life was saved. The two dandies cursed and called for help. The viewing boat they had been in scrambled to come up and save them, causing a momentarily chaotic scene. Wu Zong had no complaint about the pretty girl being around, but had a very big complaint about the young man that had brought people aboard their ship without their permission. "Who are you? How dare you trespass upon a government vessel? Do you know who's on this ship?" he rebuked. "It doesn't matter whoever is on the ship if you're not the one in charge," the youth lazily answered. "Since you're not in charge here, then you can stay cool on the sidelines. The boss hasn't said anything, so why are you sticking your head out? You've really got a dog's guts? Do you know who we are?" Wu Zong fumed. "Wu Zong, if I'm not remembering wrongly, the one in charge of this ship seems to be me, correct?" Tang Fan suddenly asked. Despite their overbearingness, they didn't actually dare to take care of Tang Fan for real. At the very most, they could only intimidate him with empty words, then set up some minor stumbling blocks behind his back. Apart from that, their duty was to ensure his health and safety. That much was unchanged. If something happened to him, they would definitely be the first ones out of luck. Hence was why Wu Zong's face fluctuated upon hearing this, yet he ultimately said nothing, tasting bitterness in his mouth. Because of his act of saving someone, Tang Fan smiled pleasantly at the young man. The other was caught off guard, antithesis to his recent haughtiness. A slight blush of bashfulness was on his face, and he smiled like he had returned to innocence, showing off his canines. Tang Fan didn't mind him though, his line of sight since turning to the groggy maiden. "As you're awake, miss, you should head back to your boat." Her face was pale, and she looked a bit dazed, coming to stand up with the support of a maid. Surrounded by men with clothes soaked through, she had no idea how much they had seen just before, and upon hearing Tang Fan's words, she immediately reacted, looking humiliated and embarrassed. Thankfully, the maid helping her had a cloak on her, and she had already bundled the girl up tight. "Thank you for your rescue, Mr. Official. Please allow me to go wash and change before I come back to thank you." "There's no need. Just go on back." The present situation was way too terrible. The girl bit her lower lip, bowed, and returned to her boat with the maid's help. After being saved, the viewing boat dandies were unhappy and wanted to come around to make trouble. Tang Fan lifted his chin, saying to the boat worker, "Go tell them that the Eastern Depot is here on business, so they should only come on board if they don't fear a headache." The boat worker went up to relay that. Just as had been expected, once the name Eastern Depot was heard, it was practically like the men had seen a ghost. How could they have nerve to demand any justice? They immediately turned their bow away and sped off. Had Tang Fan staked his censor status just then, that likely wouldn't have been so effective, which was both hilarious and annoying. Having resolved that bunch of belligerent fops, Tang Fan turning to the young man. "Your good self saw an injustice in your travels and upheld righteousness with a rescue. There was much chivalric flair to your act. May I ask your good name?" The man cupped his hands and grinned. "This humble one is Lu Lingzi, courtesy name Yuking. I hail from Jiaxing Prefecture, Pinghu County. This was no more than a random rescue I did because I was passing by. What sort of chivalric flair could I have? Your own good self is taking a government vessel, so you must be on a court assignment. I pay my respects." He didn't self-appellate as this commoner, so he ought to be of scholarly rank. Tang Fan nodded lightly. "You're drenched, so you can change your clothes before we talk more." The young man was strong in body, feeling nothing after standing on the boat for such a long time. At Tang Fan's reminder, he laughed. "Quite unfortunately, I rented a small boat for night travel, and didn't prepare a change of clothes. If it isn't too much trouble, could I borrow a set, sir? I'll return it later." This Lu Lingzi was thick-skinned, to know that Tang Fan was court-appointed official yet still dare to speak to him in the same tone of voice as he would a same-generation peer. It somehow didn't cause any negative reactions, either. Tang Fan was easygoing by nature and had no intent to bicker with him by showing off his power as an official, so he found some clean clothes for him to change into, then told him to find him at a tea hall. The other had a tall and lanky figure. Tang Fan's clothes were not really long enough, making them a little tight on him, but he had fair skin and graceful poise. Even with that bit of irregularity, one could overlook it. "You came from Pinghu, so you presumably know Assistant Minister Lu Ding?" Tang Fan asked. "You're speaking of my uncle." The youth blinked, showing some joy. "You know him?" Tang Fan shook his head. "We've known each other from a distance for a long time but haven't had much contact. The Lu family is a big clan from Pinghu, so I assumed you all would know of each other." The man crooked his brows. "I'm afraid that I still don't know your own revered name." Left Metropolitan Censor, Tang Fan. Lu Lingzi suffered a shock, looking at him with wide eyes. It wasn't until the other slightly raised his brows that he smiled awkwardly. "I've long heard of your reputation of solving cases like a god would, Master Tang. Now that I've met you, it's difficult to remain unmoved. Please forgive this Yuking's rudeness. Do you have your own honors?" "Yes. The year before, I was lucky enough to become a county honorade. After reporting to my parents, I bid farewell to my family to travel abroad. It's been over 2 years thus far. I saw that your agility was unlike an average scholar's. Have you learned martial arts?" "You really do notice the finer details, sir," the youth smiled. This humble one did indeed study under Grand Master Mulian of Shaolin Monastery for years, and I'm considered an outside disciple. "Oh? Then you're of both civil and martial capabilities. Are you intending to return home for a visit to your parents?" "Yes, but I've now changed my mind. I'll go home later." Tang Fan was surprised. "Why is that?" The youth kept cupping his hands to the last. "Because I met you. I've admired you for a long time, and I hope that we can interact some more so that I can receive your guidance. Can you fulfill this humble one's small wish?" Tang Fan's popularity wasn't bad, but he had never seen a fan like this before, who was filled with admiration at first meeting. Were he an influential academic like his mentor, this wouldn't be so strange. Even with the minor fame he had gained on account of his investigations, he had never thought that his reputation would be at this degree. However, the one before him looked sincere and had a good face on him. Even Master Tang inevitably became guilty of the crimes of judging someone by looks and cherishing talent. Of course, there was a more important reason. Tu Lu Lingzi came from the Lu family of Pinghu. It was a generational family of officials, and nearly every generation produced palace honorates, so being friends with him would do no harm. Looking at the young man's character and aptitude, he might slowly become a rising star in the next few decades. Tang Fan smiled, pointing at the chair beside him. Sit. You're a county honorate, but why did you not go to test into being a provincial honorate, and travel around instead? Do you wish to abandon the scholar path for the military, imitating Ban Chao in laying down your brush for the spear? Lu Lingzi sat down with poise. I want to lay down my brush for the spear, but this dynasty is inferior to the Han dynasty. If a general has no scholarly merits to his name, then he will always be a grade below the rest and have to look at civil officials' faces all the time. He glanced at Tang Fan. Seeing that the other didn't appear to be displeased, he continued on. I'm not complaining or anything, let alone saying that civil officials are bad. It's just that military men are of lower position for no reason. Civil officials that actually understand military affairs and can strategize are very few, after all. This humble one thinks that reading 10,000 pieces is inferior to traveling 10,000 li, and that is exactly why it's imperative to have broader knowledge. Otherwise, even if I do come to be a provincial honorate later, I would just be a mediocre man of ineffective military strategies. Tang Fan nodded and smiled. Very good. Being able to both have such aspirations and act on them is extraordinary. I believe that you'll achieve it someday. Lu Lingzi suddenly looked bright. Thank you for your praise, sir. Right when he thought to continue, he saw a boat worker come in from outside to report to Tang Fan. Sir, the woman that fell wants to come over to thank you and this young master. Reasonably, for a woman that beautiful, no earthly man would not want to try to see her again, to say nothing of how she had come to thank them, which could not be more proper. There was absolutely no grounds for rejection and no one should want to reject her. And yet, Tang Fan said, I won't meet with her. If you want to. Sir, this humble one saving her had been no more effort than the wave of a hand. I have no intent to make her give thanks at all. I don't wish to see her, either. Lu Lingzi immediately answered. As he had responded too quickly, Tang Fan had to tease him. If you do, that's just normal human behavior. Go and see her, I won't chastise you. The other was anxious. Sir, I really don't want to see her. To be able to meet you and receive your guidance and conversation is 3 lifetimes worth of blessings. Why would I vainly care about irrelevant bystanders? Seeing a layer of panic quickly shroud his handsome appearance, Tang Fan no longer had his prior calmness. A bit amused as he thought about how Lu Lingzi likely hadn't become enlightened on appreciating the opposite sex. Towards this big-hearted, honest, and juvenile in nature Lu descendant, he actually had a lot of fondness and admiration. Tell her that she doesn't need to come over and that she should just recuperate properly, Tang Fan said to the boat worker. No one wants her to repay them, so there is no need for her to be overly polite. The boat worker agreed, withdrew, then returned after not long. Their conversation disturbed, neither Tang Fan nor Lu Lingzi were too pleased. Noticing as much, the boat worker also felt awkward. Sir, she said that her parents both died and she's going to Suzhou to take shelter with relatives. Because only her maids accompany her, she worries that this same sort of situation will happen again, so she hopes to be able to request your permission in tailing your vessel for the journey. Apart from that, she will absolutely not bother you further. That was not an extravagant request. A woman traveling by herself in this world using minor ploys to protect herself was not any sort of big deal. Since Tang Fan didn't mind her, he also had no interest in worrying about studying her background to its depths, so he allowed it. Sure enough, the woman didn't come to disturb them again. Lu Lingzi was an odd person. Tang Fan had seen that he was happy to help others without wanting to take the credit for it, and since he was also a younger member of the Lu family, he chatted some more with him. The other was unexpectedly engaging, his clever remarks like pearls that often made one hold their stomach with laughter. Owing to his many travels over these 2 years, he was also wise in all he had seen. He happened to speak with him about going some area, and the two were like old friends at first meeting, talking for over half the night. When dawn approached, Lu Lingzi reluctantly said farewell, changing his appellation from Sir to Brother Tang. After the day broke, the government vessel did not remain for much longer, proceeding on with its journey. Once it had passed through Changzhou, Wuxi and other such areas, it finally reached Suzhou Prefecture, where they disembarked, then took a carriage from Changshu to Wu County. Suzhou had Changshu, Wu County, Wujiang, and other counties associated with it. Among them, Wu was the prefecture's seat of governance, and it bordered Wujiang, while both of them were on the edge of Lake Tai. There was only a jiang of difference between them, yet they were two separate areas. The court had naturally issued official documents to local officials when Tang Fan had left the capital. By the time the group arrived at Wu, Hu Wenzhao, Suzhou's magistrate, had long been waiting outside the city to welcome him, having brought his subordinating officials with him to stand in the intense sun. When it came to rank, both Hu Wenzhao and Tang Fan were 4th rank, but the latter was an imperial ambassador. The former didn't need to call himself this humble official, yet him personally coming to welcome him expressed his attitude, and when he saw Tang Fan, he was even more cordial and polite. Suzhou was a rich region, and its magistrate had a cushy job, unlike officials of poor counties. As the guardian official of the Suhang areas, he innately had an abundance of confidence and capital, so him being so courteous was not something Tang Fan was going to be too pretentious about. It didn't take too long after their initial meeting for them to already refer to each other as brothers. Hu Wenzhao introduced his subordinating officials to Tang Fan. At the end of that, everyone believed that Tang Fan would introduce Zhang Pei and Wu Zong, who were beside him, but he just said, "We're a little tired after coming all the way here. Is there somewhere to rest our legs at in the city?" Zhang Pei and Wu Zong hadn't expected that they would get straight up skipped over, their faces flashing green and white. Having an oppressive signage as the Eastern Depot meant that wherever they went, they were mighty in all aspects, and even local officials dared not offend them lightly. How could they have ever imagined that they would be so completely overlooked by him? They didn't need to think, either. If they had not previously relied on their status to try and reprimand Tang Fan, why would the two sides have had a falling out? Respect was one's own acquirement, not what others gave. Their mistake had been to equate him with other officials who were scared of offending the Eastern Depot. He had already offended the Wan group, so what was the Eastern Depot added to that? Seeing this, Hu Wenzhao hesitated. "Dare I ask, good brother, who these two are?" Tang Fan then showed a look of surprise, laughing. "Look at me, I forgot introductions. These two are Eastern Depot wardens that came along to help protect me." He finished without even saying their names. Their complexions immediately got even darker as they thought, "Who the fuck is only protecting you? We're also responsible for monitoring you." Tang Fan didn't give Hu Wenzhao another opportunity to speak though, looking confused. "Why are we not going into the city? Is there something wrong, brother Hu?" "Of course not," Hu Wenzhao quickly answered. "Please come in now, brother Tang. The post house rooms have long been ready." Tang Fan and Hu Wenzhao walked up in front, talking their way into the city. Tang Fan dared to slight the Eastern Depot, but Suzhou's subordinating officials did not. Seeing that Mr. Prefect was busy speaking with the imperial ambassador, they helped with greeting Zhang Pei and Wu Zong, not being neglectful just because they were unknown pawns. The post house indeed had long made preparations, hot water and food all being available at first call. Suzhou was wealthy, with even the bedding in the rooms being made of silk that was as soft as clouds. The luxury was evident. Hu Wenzhou personally brought Tang Fan to his room. He had thought that he had finished his task and could withdraw from his job well done, but Tang Fan called to him, "If it's no trouble, how about you sit for a bit, brother Hu?" Taken aback, Hu Wenzhou's smile promptly became a not too genuine one. "I don't think I should. I still have some official business to do. How about we talk another day?" Tang Fan looked at the sky outside. It's already nighttime, so the bureau logically should have long closed. "Are you so cherishing of the common good that you even work through the night?" Hu Wenzhou laughed. "There is no other way to be. Things have been relatively hectic lately, so I won't be able to accompany you much. Please rest a little earlier, good brother. I'll come visit again tomorrow." With that, seemingly quite afraid that Tang Fan would tell him to stay, he left the room without waiting for his response. Watching his back that was practically fleeing, Qian San'er shut the door, then turned back while chewing his tongue. Anyone that didn't know better would believe that a ghost was chasing after him. "It seems like something really fishy is going on, sir." Tang Fan smiled, turned an upside-down teacup over, poured tea for both himself and Qian San'er, then purposefully studied him. "Tell me, how is it fishy? Didn't you say before that both Yang Ji and Chen Luan denounced this Hu Wenzhou, and he's still sending memorials defending himself? According to that, he should be more anxious than anyone else. Why did he retreat so far away when he saw that you wanted to talk proper business?" Tang Fan nodded. "His attitude was pretty weird, but we've only just arrived here and don't understand the situation. There's no need to be rushed. We can look first, talk later." Qian San'er grinned evilly. "That's just fine. When we just entered the city, I immediately noticed that Suzhou is different from the north. Even the tea has the taste of cosmetics on it. It's no wonder people say that heavenly halls are above, with Su and Hang just below. Do you want to sample the grace of that southern makeup, sir?" Tang Fan was displeased. "What taste of cosmetics? That's just you having lewd thoughts on the mind. I didn't taste any." Qian San'er sighed. I knew you would refuse to go. But, having said that, this place is so far away from the capital. Even if you go, Commander Sui wouldn't know, and this lowly one wouldn't go spill the secret to him." Tang Fan immediately spat out his tea. "What secret? What would that have to do with him?" Qian San'er gave him a wink. Tang Fan's response was to boot him right on out. End chapter. The 14th Year of Chenghua. Chapter 112. Can't you be more reliable? Despite Hu Wenzhou having said that he would come pay a visit the next day, not even his shadow actually showed up. Tang Fan visited the magistrate's bureau himself, only to be informed that the other man had some task somewhere else and happened to not be present. At this point, how could Tang Fan not know that he was purposefully avoiding him? Hu Wenzhou really doesn't know right from wrong. Qian San'er raged. "You're clearly here to help him solve this issue, but he seems to see you as having come to add to his headache. Don't mind him, sir. Since he doesn't wish to see us, we will go meet with people who do." The other was puzzled. "Who?" "The patrolling censor of South's Hilly, Yang Ji." "Right. Wasn't it said that both he and Chen Luan denounced Hu Wenzhou for his inaction? Now that the man is avoiding meeting with us, it's obvious that he has a guilty conscience. Something must be really off with him," Qian San'er said joyfully. Tang Fan smiled, saying nothing. The patrolling censor was not a permanent resident official, so he had no set estate, always staying in post houses wherever he went, like Tang Fan. The only difference was that Tang Fan had been sent directly from the court, making his officials' rank much higher than that of a patrolling censors. When Tang Fan's group had arrived at Wu County yesterday, Yang Ji had not been seen in the crowd that had greeted him. After Tang Fan had questioned the post house people, they had claimed that Yang Ji had previously gone to Tse County for an inspection. He did want to meet with Yang Ji, but he didn't wait idly at the post house, instead bringing Qian San'er to stroll the streets and alleyways of Wu. Qian San'er was beside himself with joy. Back in Yangzhou, he had been preoccupied with buying Tang Fan something to eat, and had also worried about no one being around to protect him, so he had run back after a brief shishan, not daring to remain long, let alone have any fun. Now, Tang Fan bringing him out could be said to be justified for him. He walked about here and felt about there, in a pure display of viewing a novelty. The north and south had differences in sights, with that of the south were overall being more exquisite and pretty. This was incarnated in many of its refreshments, where even the patterns embellished on top of them appeared to be a bit more delicate. The two entered a long-established snack store. Tang Fan had the shopkeep measure out 2 caddies of all sorts of snacks, then told Qian San'er to carry them while he himself took a rose pastry and put it into his mouth. "It still tastes like how I remember," he praised, nodding. Hearing that, the shopkeeper grinned accommodatingly. "You speak with a southern accent, yet the style of your robes is northern. You must be visiting your parents after many years away from home." Tang Fan smiled. "You have good eyes, shopkeeper, but the great Ming is unified. Are there really differences between the clothes of the north and south? Why wouldn't there be? Take that goose yellow color that's been in fashion here for 2 years. Regardless of gender or age, lots of people like putting on goose yellow outer robes, and your jade pendant's tassel is different from how the south does it." Qian San'er was pondering. "As I see it, that sort of thing is only for women to pay attention to. No wonder people always say that southern men are softies, if this is what they care about." After saying that, he received a side eye from Tang Fan, after which he remembered that the other was a southerner. Since he had just pointed at a monk and called him a bald donkey, he quickly went to flatter him. "You're different, of course. How could the north and south divide be used on your character and aspirations?" Tang Fan wasn't mad, but the shopkeeper at the snack stall wasn't pleased. "Little brother, you're quite wrong. What's wrong with southern men? The water and soil supports the people, and our Jiangnan is wealthier than the north. It's only natural that its people would live more meticulously." Qian San'er grinned. "Don't be angry, shopkeep, I was just kidding. Our young master here is a southerner, so how could I claim that southerners are bad? I just thought it was strange. It's said that the heavenly hall is above with Suzhou and Hangzhou right below, and this is where Suzhou prefecture is governed from, but why is it bleaker than Yangzhou? Is Yangzhou city actually the most prosperous in Jiangnan?" This time, the shopkeeper wasn't angry, merely sighing. This was caused by the mess of last year's flooding. "We of Wu are all right, but I heard that Wujiang is even worse and hasn't recovered to this day. Are any citizens still affected by the disaster in Wu now?" Tang Fan asked, going with the flow. "No. Why not?" Tang Fan wondered. "Didn't Lake Tai's shores flood? Were they able to replant their crops this spring?" "No, they all left for Wujiang." "And why is that?" "Wujiang and Wu must have really offended the ones above last year, as there was first a spring drought, then a summer flood," the shopkeeper lamented. "I have a relative that lived on Lake Tai outside the city, and his fields flooded, to say nothing of his house. He was forced to come seek shelter with me, which was fine. Because of plagues arising, a lot of people died, and the authorities worried about the spreading of disease, so they were disallowed from entering the city. Later on, it was heard that Wujiang had more kanji on its end, so a lot of people headed there. That all happened last year. I also heard that a lot of them froze to death in winter, but now that spring is here, the situation ought to be a lot better. The two left the snack shop. At this point, Tang Fan had already eaten about 80% of the 2 caddies of snacks Jian San'er was holding, and even drank down a pot of rain for Longjing the shopkeeper had made, his stomach right about full. Jian San'er had eaten his share of the snacks, of course, but when all was said and done, he had to admire Master Tang's people skills in chatting with the shopkeeper, else that rain for tea definitely wouldn't have been theirs to have later. Looking at the emptied out oil paper, Jian San'er rubbed his stomach, a little unsatisfied. "Sir, can we have lunch, too?" "Yes. Why wouldn't we? You can still eat after that." Tang Fan side-eyed him. "Why wouldn't I be able to? If you can't eat anymore, go on back, I can do it by myself. Let me think, what to have for lunch. Squirrel fish, or Longjing prawns." Jian San'er's drool nearly overflowed from hearing that. "Both are good." While the two joked around, a pleasantly surprised voice suddenly came from in front of them. "Brother Tang." Following the voice, Tang Fan saw Lu Lingzi, who he hadn't seen since parting with him that one day, standing not too far away, looking at him with happy surprise. Before he could snap out of it, the other had already taken a few steps forward. "Why are you here, brother? After I went back that day, I had thought to pack my stuff and cheekily trespass on your ship, but once I got to the riverbank, I discovered that your vessel had long been on its way. Why did you go so fast? Did you know that I wanted to freeload on your ship?" Lu Lingzi's tone gave off enthusiasm and happiness, with a faint trace of being wronged in his words. It made one smile a bit hearing it. "Am I not seeing you again now?" Tang Fan smiled. "That we could be drawn together from 1,000 li apart is clearly fate," Lu Lingzi said happily. "Are you on a stroll? I once lived in Wu for a while, and I'm familiar with the place. I can show you around. We happen to be searching for a place to eat. I'm even more familiar with that. Come with me, I'll take you to a place." "Very well. Seems that we have a good fortune for food this day." While they spoke, he brought the two of them to a restaurant, got a private room with elegant decor and a fine view of the landscape, then ordered a good couple of dishes like it was routine. It looked like he had been here many times before. "Brother Tang, the squirrel fish here is made especially authentic. You need to try it. If you have another free day, there's another place in the city's south that specializes in making iced eel. You came at a good time, as that dish is most refreshing during the summer." "Yuking," Tang Fan suddenly interrupted. "What's wrong?" Lu Lingzi asked, puzzled. "You know that I'm a court official, and that I'm under imperial orders to handle something in Suzhou." Lu Lingzi nodded. "You said that. Then do you know what I'm here to handle?" The other thought, smiling. "Is it related to last year's famine?" Tang Fan smiled back. "Tell me if this is a coincidence. I just pass Yangzhou and you come to visit. Now I'm at Suzhou, and we have yet another lucky encounter. With that said, who ultimately sent you? What is your purpose in following me?" Following that, Lu Lingzi's smile gradually went away. When he smiled, he had an innocent feel to him, but when he didn't, he looked a bit frigid. His previously ever-grinning thin lips pressed together, changing to seem more unfeeling. If he came to be a few years older, and experienced some time to take full form, the youth would definitely come to be rich with allure, an unknown number of women coming to fall head over heels for him. "What do you mean by that, Brother Tang? Honest people don't speak in secret words. What you think I mean is what I mean." The two looked into each other's eyes. The formerly relaxed atmosphere of their chat quickly turned a bit tense. Jian San'er's heart dropped. When Lu Lingzi had shown off his might on the river last night, he had happened to be absent, but after Lu Lingzi had left Tang Fan, he had personally witnessed that while the government vessel had been some distance from the shore, Lu Lingzi had launched himself right off the deck to land steadily on the bank. Qian Sanner had been amazed by his brilliant skills, and when he had heard the boat workers speaking of Lu Lingzi's rescue, he had felt that among the people he had met before, likely only Suzhou and Wang Zhi could match the man in abilities. Upon seeing Lu Lingzi's change of face, he was now afraid that the other would suddenly put Tang Fan at a disadvantage, and prepared to pounce if needed. Then, he saw Tang Fan pick up some squirrel fish and put it in his mouth. This fish is really good. It's soft and fresh, with a sweet and sour flavor. It's great for a dinner. Waiter, some rice from last night. Do you two want any? Qian Sanner was instantly dejected. Sir, couldn't you have kept your grandeur up for a bit longer? How can I, as a subordinate, help you put on a front like this? Lu Lingzi put out a laugh, waving his hand. I don't. I'm not much for rice. Waiter, give me a bowl of congee. Brother Tang, he looked at Tang Fan, a serious expression on a pure and innocent face. Do you think I would hinder you? Tang Fan took the rice the worker brought, thanking him, and was in no rush to answer. On the contrary, he picked up some rice to taste with his chopsticks, then nodded to express his satisfaction. The rice is good, too. Lake Tai rice really deserves its repute. However, since there was a flood and famine last year, why is there still fresh rice to have? Could it possibly have been transported from elsewhere? Lu Lingzi shook his head. No, it was harvested last year. Even though the lake flooded to the point of calamity, it was not without crop yield. Last year, the only fresh crops were collected right into the pockets of wealthy Suzhou merchants. This Lake Tai restaurant is one of the properties owned under the name of a merchant, Liang Hongyi. Can you guess how much this meal is going to cost? Tang Fan didn't answer that, instead setting down his chopsticks to answer his question from before. I don't think you'll hinder me, else I wouldn't have spoken with you into the night. I also hope that you don't betray my trust. After all, I don't allow just anyone to call me Brother Tang. Lu Lingzi startled. You've been suspicious of my identity ever since that time on the boat. There were so many boats around, yet you pulled onto mine. After that, I didn't tell you that I was going to Suzhou, yet we just so happened to meet on the streets. One coincidence is easy to find, but too many coincidences are seldom. If you were a little more patient, you wouldn't have needed to be in such a rush to come out and see me. Wouldn't it have been better for you to bump into me when I went to Wujiang? At this moment, Tang Fan was smiling, eyes roaming. His tone was light, yet carried an indescribable carefreeness. Lu Lingzi was dumbstruck for a minute, then suddenly said, Brother Tang, you really look good when you smile. The corners of Tang Fan's mouth twitched. With how the youth was sometimes bright, sometimes naive, it was a little unclear on whether he was feigning stupidity or was actually stupid. If you're not telling the truth, I'm going. No matter how delicious the squirrel fish is, I have no interest in sharing it with someone of unfathomable mind, as it spoils the food. Tang Fan made to stand up, and Lu Lingzi anxiously reached out to stop him. Brother Tang, don't be angry. I didn't intentionally hide from you. I was entrusted to do this by someone else, but it isn't to hinder you, it's to help you. Tang Fan raised a brow. Help me. Lu Lingzi nodded, eyes sincere and honest. Yes, don't leave. Listen to me through first, all right. Go on and speak. I'm not lying to you. I really am a member of Pinghu's Lu family, and I really am traveling around. Look, this is my jade identity token that I wear on me, with my name and surname engraved on it, as bestowed by my elders. It's simply that when I last went to the capital, I ran into an old friend and he said that you might come across some troubles while in Suzhou, so he asked me to go south to find you and lend you a hand. I was born in Pinghu but I grew up in Suzhou since childhood, and have some friends here, too. I might be able to help you out. Who is that old friend of yours? Huayan. Tang Fan was surprised. How is it him? Eunuch Huai once stayed in Suzhou Prefecture and was kind to my family, so we have constant contact with him. When I went to the capital, I followed old standards by visiting him at his residence outside the palace, and happened to meet him as he was resting at home, where he entrusted me with doing this. He said that what happened with the crowned prince had nothing to do with you but stemmed from someone else wanting to make trouble with him, yet you were still implicated, and the Eastern Depot's people might use this time to set up obstacles for you while you investigate. He told me to come and help you while I was here. Tang Fan heard the key point amongst that. What relation does this have with the Eastern Depot? Eunuch Huai said that each year in Suzhou, a lot of presents will be gifted to Director Shang Ming. They used to be given to the Western Depot, but now that it's gone, the Eastern Depot rules alone and they fawn on them even more. Huayan had always been low-key, but he was extremely popular in court. The Wan group relied upon the emperor's idiocy and tried to sort out many major officials, while Huayan would always help out if he could. Tang Fan had been dragged into the East Palace incident, but he knew that things had been out of the prince's hands, and thus had never blamed him. He hadn't thought that Huayan would send Lu Lingzi over, which really surprised and moved him a little. In your view, what's happening here? He asked. After exposing his identity, Lu Lingzi spoke with more frankness. I'm not too clear on it, I only heard a little from Eunuch Huai at the capital. Oh, right, Brother Tang, he told me to tell you that the uncle of Wujiang's magistrate is Nanjing's Minister of Revenue, Chenghua. Tang Fan raised his brows. Is that true? After the Great Ming had shifted its capital, Nanjing still had its 6 ministries, but their authority had been pretty much replaced by Beijing's 6 ministries, turning them into a well-known retirement resort in bureaucracy. However, Nanjing's 6 ministries were not actually without any power. At the very least, that wasn't the case for its Ministry of Revenue. It bore the responsibility of collecting grain taxes from the 4 areas of South Zili, Zhejiang, Jiangxi, and Huiguang, which had all been wealthy since ancient times. To tell the truth, nearly about half of the whole nation's grain taxes were held in the grasp of its minister, and even though it would ultimately have to be passed up to Beijing, there were many areas of the process where manipulations could be supplied. This resulted in the Nanjing Ministry of Revenue being a good, dependable area, and its minister was a post everyone longed for. If one couldn't make it in Beijing and was destined to make it in Nanjing, then everyone's first pick would be the Ministry of Revenue. It didn't stop there. In addition to the grain tax, this ministry was also responsible for nationwide releasing of salt licenses. In other words, if merchants wanted to peddle salt, they first had to get a license from the Ministry of Revenue before they could do so legally. Otherwise, they would be selling it illegally, and would face heavy punishment if caught. As such, the Suzhou magistrate's odd behavior and disappearance had to be related to this. Tang Fan felt himself to have been thinking about this too simplistically at the beginning. He had believed that he was only coming here to inspect the state of the disaster, acting the part of a peacekeeper, but after his arrival, things were just getting increasingly complex. Also, the more Lu Lingzi explained, the more convoluted it got. The Eastern Depot, Nanjing's officialdom, Suzhou Prefecture, Wujiang County, stringing all of these people together could really make one see stars. Were he an ordinary official, he would have likely thought to run away, let alone find out the truth. However, Lu Lingzi noticed that after hearing of this connection, instead of showing a look of hesitation, Tang Fan seemed to be full of interest, as if he had discovered something fascinating. Brother Tang, he had to tentatively call out. Since that's so, let's go to Wujiang to take a look, the other said. Let me go with you, Lu Lingzi said automatically. I know martial arts. I can protect you. Saying so, he looked at him pitifully, as if fearing that he had a poor impression of him from the initial secrecy, and he would be left high and dry for asking. Tang Fan didn't care, though. The reason why Lu Lingzi had kept Huayan's part a secret had probably been to see if he could impress him. The thoughts of a youngster were nothing special, and even less offensive. On top of that, his impression of Lu Lingzi was pretty good, and he was subconsciously a bit softer on him. Sure, but while we're in Suzhou, you have to listen to my every order. If you don't, you shouldn't blame me for being cold. Hearing this, Lu Lingzi's entire face suddenly lit up. Of course. I'll definitely be nice and obedient. If you tell me to go east, I won't go west. Qian San'er immediately glared at him when he heard this, feeling alerted. He was trying to nab his spot. Seeing his face full of vigilance, Lu Lingzi smiled at Tang Fan. Brother Tang, apart from those two people from Eastern Depot, all you have is this frail and useless guy at your side, and he wouldn't be able to defend you if something happened. I would do better following and attending to you. I can be both a boy servant and a bodyguard, two things in one. I'm great. Qian San'er puffed up. Who's frail and useless? I once worked as a Jinyue in the Northern Administrative Court Division, got it? If you don't believe that, we've got a few tricks and then you can see who's afraid of who. Lu Lingzi sized him up, looking hesitant and doubtful. You. A Jinyue. Having his manly dignity and pride encounter a serious challenge, Qian San'er put up his fists without another word in a vow to viciously knock this punk to the floor. However, Lu Lingzi didn't evade him. Instead he reached out to hold his fist, turned his body slightly, then gently twisted his wrist along with the direction of his momentum. An elegant pose, a lithe figure. His other hand was even behind his back. He wasn't using all of his strength. Qian San'er involuntarily pitched himself forwards, watching himself about to massively eat dirt. All of a sudden, there was a tightness on his middle, and he was summarily pulled back by someone. Before he could react, he was standing in his original spot with a face full of confusion, maintaining his same posture of holding his fist out. Are you all right? Lu Lingzi asked with concern, after which he turned to smile brightly at Tang Fan. See, brother. This guy isn't good enough to protect you. Am I not better? Feeling himself to have lost face in front of Tang Fan, Qian San'er felt humiliated and enraged, face flushing. Sir! Sir! While the two of them had been screwing around, Tang Fan had since casually consumed all of the squirrel fish meat. All right, quit fighting. Are you eating, or what? If you're not, then leave. Brother Tang, did you not see my moves just now? Lu Lingzi asked, faintly complaining. Tang Fan reached out and flicked him on the forehead. I did see. Very cool. Even stronger than the Jinyue, all right. Only then was Lu Lingzi happy. Qian San'er felt it to be necessary to rectify the Jinyue's name, quickly refuting, Sir, Commander Sui aside, even Xueqinhu and the others would have been enough to make this jerk eat dirt. Lu Lingzi beamed. Brother Tang said I'm good, so I'm good. No matter what way you quibble, it's useless, so why bother expending energy for no reason? Qian San'er's anger hit him until his teeth itched. Who said you're good? He was only consoling you. Tang Fan didn't feel like listening to their childlike squabble, walking right out. The two quickly sounded a retreat and ceased attacking, following close behind him. Wujiang neighbored Wu, the two localities being tied up against each other. Not only were the names nearly the same but their distance was quite close. The three of them got 3 horses from the post house, then rode straight for Wujiang, setting off in the afternoon and arriving quickly. The second they entered its city, they felt that the atmosphere was even more oppressive than Wu's. People that were getting off from work, coming to trade, or visiting relatives came and went from the city gates in the same way they would in other cities, but the amount of people was far fewer. Wujiang City has 2 city gates. We're entering the east gate, and Lake Tai is at the west gate, Lu Lingzi advised. Tang Fan nodded. Let's go look at the west gate, then. However, they didn't go far before they saw a group of people catching up to them from behind. Their leader was wearing a 7th-rank official's uniform. It was the Wujiang County Magistrate, Chen Luan. End chapter.